is Resa Solomon St. Louis. I'm the chef and owner of Bacchanal Taste the Caribbean Lifestyle. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm excited to invite you here into my home where I get almost all of my inspiration from my friends, from my family, from my downtime when we're traveling. And I'm excited to share some of what inspires me when you see me at farmers markets, when we're catering, through our prepared meals, and even our sauces and spice blends that we're known for. They make great foodie gifts, by the way. So today, one of the things that is very important to me as part of my business is farmers markets. My business is actually co-located with Ottawa Street Markets, and we're excited to be able to get access to some excellent local fresh produce and also be a part of farmers markets and local vendors in our city. So let's see some of the things we've got today in our basket. We're going to cook with some of these. We've got some fresh peppers. We've got some tomatoes, there's some cucumbers. Oh, I think we're going to be using some of this wonderful olive oil from the unrefined olive. And that reminds me, let me tell you what we're making today. We are going to be making jollof rice. That's right, a beautiful, flavorful rice. I can't wait to share that with you. We're going to enjoy that with some curry beef. Yes, that's curry beef, not beef curry. Curry beef, as we would say in Trinidad and Tobago. And we're going to have it with some delicious fried plantains. So let's get to cooking. So we're going to make a delicious, one of the most flavorful rice dishes that I've ever had, and that is jollof rice. The famous jollof rice. Look at all of these things that are going to be just in the rice marinade. So we've got some nice sweet red onion, some spicy Scotch bonnet peppers, fresh ginger, tomato paste, a bit of olive oil, tomato, and I am just going to prep a pepper quickly because today I'm actually going to have to use my immersion blender. Normally I would dump all of this into my food processor, but that's not what's happening today. So we can also do it this way. It just was going to require a little bit of additional prep. And I don't really care about the size and the shape and the evenness of things right now. I'm just trying to get it down to a size that I can handle with my immersion blender. And then we've already got a nice red tomato in there. And I would say this is actually a great dish to make. You can actually make the marinade ahead, and if you've got some very ripe tomatoes, which we did today, then you can kind of be inspired by that. Be inspired by the produce, by the ingredients that you already have in your fridge, in your pantry, what's up the road at your local markets, and make something from it. So I'm going to put in 4 Scotch bonnet peppers. I've already cut the tops off. A little bit of ginger, fresh ginger. And this is about a large onion. All right, I'll want to introduce some liquid in there. This looks like it's going to be quite the task to blend. We'll give it a try. And some olive oil. Okay, let's get to blending this. Let's give it a whirl. It's not too bad. I'm just pulsing it so that I don't burn out my motor. And what I also want to do now is add in a good spice blend. So I'm using the Bacchanal spice blend, of course, and a little bit of sea salt. You need to have some salt for flavor. And this is what is going to be going into the rice to give it that beautiful red color that we associate with a beautiful jollof. Look at that. It almost looks like a smoothie. But these are wonderful, fresh ingredients. And I have to say, this is the secret to African and Caribbean food, and that is that so many ingredients are just going into a marinade for the rice. That's where the flavor comes from. You can see they're fresh, it's natural. There isn't anything here really that's not found outside and dried or fresh off of a tree. So I am going to let that sit for a moment, and what we'll do is head over to the stove and we'll get started with our curry beef. So I do have a pot here that has been heating up a little bit, hopefully not too much. And what I'm going to do is start with some curry powder. So this is a Madras style curry powder. There are different kinds. Just gonna see, is it smoking too much? It's a little bit. Probably want to turn the heat down a bit on that. So there are different ways to make curry. You know, and in my family, we have the curry debates. How do we do it? Even though I have two siblings, and we all make our curry a little differently. We all make excellent curries. I'm not saying mine is better than theirs. I just like the way that I make mine the best. But they make excellent curry. So, for example, some people make their curry into a paste, and then they, like with water, and then they kind of cook that down, and then add more water, cook it down some more, add their oil and onions, etc. But my favorite way to make it is this way, and what I'm doing here is I'm roasting my curry. I'm smoking it. You can actually see the smoke maybe coming off of the pot, and what's going to happen is eventually it is going to get quite dark, and then at that point I'm going to add in whatever I want to use for my oil. Really, any oil is fine. It's kind of up to you. Today I'm making a curried beef, and so I think butter is fine. I often use plant-based butter. Today it's just a regular creamery butter. And this is almost ready. I don't know if you can tell that this is starting to get a little dark, and it's definitely very fragrant and smelling of curry. I'll tell you, my neighbors, they know that I'm making curry right now. All right, so what I'm going to do is turn this down a little bit, introduce my butter, and I'm also going to add in a little bit of oil. This is canola. So that, well, when that's melted in, and we can see once we add the oil, the curry gets quite dark. And so in some ways I do eventually get to a paste, but how we kind of get to that point, it's different for each person. While that is simmering, actually I'm just going to add in my onions, and going to add in a little bit of ginger to this. When I'm making a curried lamb or curried beef, I usually tend to add in ginger. It's just a preference. I don't make my curry the same way all the time. Like when I'm making a vegan curry, I'm going to use a plant-based butter. You know, when I'm making a vegan curry, also because vegetables don't have any significant amount of fat, or in most cases no fat at all, I'm going to use coconut milk as a significant component of my liquid. But the beef, I'm not going to go in as hard in the same way with the liquids. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, and I'm just going to pop over to the other side to finish seasoning my beef. So I'm just starting with a quick base of salt. Again, our spice blend, and you'll see our spice blend a lot because it is our foundation spice. I know that it's got oregano, paprika, garlic powder, crushed red chilies, a bit of allspice, black pepper. Like it's already got most of what I need in terms of just adding flavor. So ideally, if you want, I'm sorry, I'm lazy, but if you want to, you can let this sit for overnight or several hours. But you know what? This is stewing beef. So this cut of beef is often from the shoulder, and it takes a while for it to kind of cook down and get and to soften up. But in so doing, it's also developing the flavors. So I'm okay with seasoning it, cleaning my meat, seasoning it, and going straight into, you can see like all the curry that's coating it. It's going to sit in the oven or on the stove for an hour and a half minimum. So this is a dish that maybe more of a weekend dish, or you could even start this and then put it into a crock pot before you leave to go to work or head off to do whatever it is you're going to do for the day. This is kind of like a set it and forget it type meal. So what I'm going to do right now, no, I'm not going to open a fresh coconut. I am going to use some 100% coconut water. It's unsweetened, it's just coconut water. So as close as we can get to the real thing. And I'm going to add just a little bit of coconut milk, not too much. Come in again. You want to essentially cover this with water to have it cook down and have a nice gravy going. And really, the aromatics, it's beautiful. So some of it may just kind of rub off with the liquid, but that's okay because it's eventually going to reduce. There we go. So bring that up to a boil, and then we're going to cover that, and it's going to simmer for at least an hour and a half. And I'm going to actually turn it down when it starts to boil. Turn it down to halfway between low and a medium heat. All right, so while that's cooking, we are going to continue on with our jollof rice, which is also going to take a little bit of time. And we're going to then move on to our fried plantain. Okay, so now we're ready to do our jollof rice. So we mixed up this fantastic mixture, and it's got tomato, pepper, Scotch bonnet, garlic, ginger, onions, spices. Really this is all that you need for awesome flavor. This is going to make a beautiful, scented, flavorful rice. So let me just test this because I do not want... Okay, so actually this is a bit of a different process here. We're going to go in. I only need about half of this. And we're going to essentially cook down the marinade a bit because it was raw ingredients. And once it's cooked down, we are going to introduce the rice. So in the meantime, what we can do is we can get started on our plantain. So I've got here a plantain, which some of you may know more like a cooking banana, or maybe you've seen it in the grocery store, you're not quite sure what to do with it. Often they're green if you come across them in the grocery store. And if they're this color, some people might think, oh, these are overripe. Why aren't these on sale? Well, you know what? This is the best way to have your plantain, and that's when it's yellow with some brown spots on it and soft when you press on it. That means it's going to be beautiful and sweet. I mean, if you like a sweet plantain. I love a sweet plantain. And you can enjoy these boiled, you can grill them, and you can have them fried, of course, which is a treat, and we're going to have that today. It's going to be so nice with our jollof rice and our curried beef. I mean, really, there isn't a better accompaniment. And of course, many tropical regions use plantain in different ways. This is not a fruit that is germane to Canada. It is an imported fruit. And what's important to note is that you can't eat this raw. It's like eating a raw potato. So it has to be cooked in some way. You can also have them green. And when they're green, they're more of like almost like a regular potato in the flavor, because the fruit has not really ripened yet. And people often have them in, just gonna turn this down a little bit, in something like plantain chips. You can have them in stews when they're not ripe. And a favorite way to have them, you may have heard of tostones, and that is when the green plantain is mashed and salted and fried. And that's a lovely way to have them as well if you want to have them green. So what I'm going to do right now is just bring these over to the stove, and we will get our plantain in the pot. And it looks like our jollof is also ready to be mixed in with the rice. So everything's right on time. The plantain cooks very quickly. And it's quite soft. One thing of note about plantain is that it's very high in potassium. So if that's something that you'd like to get more of, have some plantain. If you don't want more potassium, then don't have plantain. It's got more potassium than bananas. So what I'm doing right now is I am going to be just adding the rice into this cooked marinade. So the thing is with this, if I compare it to something like coconut rice and peas, with coconut rice and peas, I would normally caramelize my onions, and then I would, add in tomatoes and peppers, etc. Of course, it's not blended. And then I would add in my rice and my beans and my seasonings, etc. For this one, everything is done up front. I mean, this is a way of doing it, of course. There are different ways to make jollof. In fact, there are jollof wars. I don't mean in a fun sense, like who makes the best poutine, who makes the best jollof between Nigeria and Kenya, Ghana. That's something that it's quite the delicacy, quite delicious. I'm just gonna let I'm gonna put my wooden spatula in there. I'm using a wooden spatula because this is a non-stick pot. I'm going to also just toss in, because I feel like today we're just going to want that extra heat. There we go. We've got a nice little Scotch bonnet in there. I'm going to be careful not to pound it down or mash it, because I'm not trying to unleash the fury of Scotch bonnet. Just want a nice little kick. So I've got my spatula here. I'm just going to check the other side of the plantain. I don't think it's anywhere close to ready yet. No, not yet. All right, so that's going to take a couple of minutes, and let me go back to the jollof. I just really want this rice to bloom. It's going to puff up a little bit, and then I'm going to be ready to add the water. So I chose basmati today. I usually use basmati rice or parboiled rice. Those are both rices that are pretty good when it comes to a glycemic index, or in terms of how your body is processing and creating the sugars associated with this particular starch. But you still also get the flavor. Check this again. How are we doing on the plantain? Oh, it's starting to turn. You don't want it to brown too quickly, because if it's crispy on the outside and then, it's not raw and juicy on the inside, it's not cooked and juicy on the inside, that's not going to be good. All right, now I'm ready to add the water. I started off with 2 cups of rice, so I'm going to add approximately 2 cups of water. Not quite, because I do have some extra liquids in there from the jollof marinade. That's a beautiful saffrony orange color. It's going to make a lovely dish. Oh, am I forgetting about my plantain? Maybe. All right, let's turn these over. They are all good to go now, I think. Almost. It's okay if we flip them more than once. It's not a big deal. These are frying up nicely. As I said, you can have them boiled, you can have them grilled, you can have them fried. It's really your preference. Okay. One more to flip. Okay, so with this jollof rice now, it's coming to a simmer. I'll turn turn up my heat just a little bit, make sure it gets to a good simmer. Then I'm going to cover it and let it cook down. It doesn't take a lot of heat at that point once it's reached a boil. And it's going to take maybe about 20 minutes or so just to cook down and get rid of all the water. So we're almost ready to plate our delicious meal of plantains, jollof rice, and curry beef. So we'll be plating that in just a moment. So today we featured some traditional West African dishes, and I have to say some of this is quite familiar also from a Caribbean perspective. The fried plantains, absolutely 100%. A curry beef, curry is definitely a favorite, a specialty in Trinidad and Tobago, but also in West Africa, and together with jollof rice. I mean, how many flavors do we have in here? Curry, Scotch bonnet, peppers, onions, garlic, ginger, olive oil, tomatoes, plantains. This is so aromatic, so fragrant, so delicious. These ingredients speak for themselves. I hope you've enjoyed our taste of the Caribbean, West African style today with me here in the kitchen with Resa. Enjoy.